Hey there. Okay, shoot, I've messed with the settings on my microphone. I noticed a couple times my microphone blanking out in my videos, like while I'm talking, so that's annoying. I don't really know why. Like, I spent a lot of money on this microphone a while back because I wanted a quality microphone, and it's not acting very nicely, is it? That was me pausing. That wasn't the microphone. But I just created an outro for my videos, and I wanted to put some music to it. So I got out my kalimba, and I was, playing a little medley, and the microphone would not pick it up. I tried it several times with a lot of different settings, and you know what? Actually, one thing I didn't try was try this. Okay, so what I tried is plugging it into a different USB port. And let me just grab my kalimba. We'll see if it actually works this time. Hold on. This, otherwise known as a finger piano. Okay, so if you heard that, then we know that switching the USB fixed it. I won't know until later, and maybe I can add the sound into my outro. That'll be fun. All right, so I can tell that my ego is really trying to avoid this thing, the whole reason that I got on here to try to record. Not try to record, actually record. Yeah, so, all right. I don't know what I'm going to title. I don't know what I'm going to title this video yet. So you may already know what I'm about to talk about and share. But I have a very deep healing to do on myself right now. So I thought I will share it. I will share it. And also I will document it. And I will actually do it. Because I've known that I needed to do this since this morning. I think it was this morning. So let me tell you how I came by this. It all kind of clicked together when I was watching a video by Prairie Vintage. Prairie Vintage, yeah. She's a tarot card reader on YouTube. And she's a lovely lady, and if you resonate with me, maybe you want to check her readings out. Because she's really good at what she does, and she's good at sharing from a bigger picture view, and she's not afraid to get to the point, So, if you need to be triggered and you're prepared to heal your triggers, go there. Don't be afraid, of what she might have to say. And I've found that a lot of times I'll get insight into my own self because I realize that the reading is actually, she's talking about my own energy sometimes. And sometimes it's not my energy, it's someone else's. Anyhow, I really liked her readings. So I was listening to one of her readings, and it was about who's thinking of you the most this holiday season. Now, just saying, I normally wouldn't seek out these kind of readings. I feel like it's kind of frivolous to, do or listen to readings like this. But because I know she's not about fluff, because I know her readings aren't just trying to make you feel good and tell you what you want to hear, which is what a lot of readings titled that might try to do. And also, why else would you click on a reading like that, I normally wouldn't click on a reading titled that, but I'm subscribed to her channel, and I enjoy her readings so much that even sometimes when I don't feel particularly like a reading is something I'd click on, I will, because sometimes I'll use her readings as a way to test myself to see if I could get triggered. But that's not why I watched this particular reading. I just thought, okay, I'll watch, I'll see what. And I was drawn to two piles. Is that the reading I'm thinking of? Yeah. And what I think one was my own energy. And what she was saying was, just like my cards have been urging me, okay, so I've been getting this card about forgiveness, offering somebody forgiveness. And I get kind of like, yeah, of course I forgive, like I get like that whenever I see that card for, asking me to forgive, but my guidance keeps giving it to me. So I know that it's like I'm missing something, right? Like it's like, well, I don't feel like I need to forgive anything because I don't feel like I'm holding a grudge, And so in her reading, she starts talking a bit about how on a very 3D level, it looks like forgiveness. But on this other level, it's like there's nothing to forgive. And then that got like piqued my attention, right? Because I was like, oh, okay, I would like to have your perspective right now. And so she's talking about my own energy, right? And I'm thinking like, okay, this is interesting to me because she's talking about forgiveness, which is a thing that I've not been able to figure out on why I've been getting that guidance. And it wasn't what she was talking about in the reading that actually told me what my issue was. It was what I realized as a result of just her energy being there. I think like helped me reflect in such a way, because as soon as she like pointed out that on a soul level you don't really have to forgive people because like on a soul level everyone's doing their best, right? Which is something I'm well aware of and I understand and I know. And she was talking about how logically you can know that, but then you can still have something, inside you that's kind of holding a grudge or feeling hurt still or victimized or blah, blah, blah. So, but what it pointed out to me was this. Okay, so for a long time in my life, I allowed myself to be in relationship. Sorry, I keep wiggling my desk and then it's wiggling the microphone and that's making me feel weird and annoying me. See how bad my ego wants to just deter me from this topic? It's funny. It's funny. Okay, it's not that funny. Come on now, we can do this. So for a long time, I found myself willingly in relationship with people who did not treat me very well. And this is as far back as I can remember. It's kind of painful as I recall like a whole lifetime of spending time with people who I knew didn't really have my best interest at heart, but they were the people that I hung out with or, had social interactions with. And where it really stood out was in romantic relationships, of course. And it took, so eventually I get onto this spiritual path or journey, or my awareness of being on a spiritual path or journey, and start paying attention to the guidance and my intuition and all that. And, flags are thrown and I understand there's something here that, is not okay. And it's bothersome to me, but also like confusing to me because I would only, like later when I was in this spiritual journey, I would only be in relationship that I knew I was guided into. And it was so hard and confusing for me to conceptualize that I would have been led into a relationship that is actually with a person who was not good for me and who was betraying me. It was sort of unfathomable to me because I thought once I had guidance that I would be safe and I could trust and all this right now, right? But in retrospect, the issue with that is that I was still looking to trust something outside of myself instead of being able to trust myself to make these decisions and discernments. So that's why I was led into those relationships, because those relationships were set up to teach me about the importance of that. But I gotta say that it was much more likely that I would go rounds and rounds of being knocked down and being basically spit on while I was down, like by my significant other. Like I literally feel like I was dragged through the mud by my last relationship. And because it wasn't until afterwards that when I finally got out of it that I thought, oh, okay, I needed that lesson, and I guess I'm going to be led into situations where I need lessons sometimes. And so I stayed in a long time, and I was mistreated for a long time, and it was traumatizing, but I did do a lot of healing of myself during that process. It was where I started to learn how to heal. And I actually experienced many different modalities of healing that I had much success with throughout that time in that relationship. And even afterward, it was easy for me to gloss over the bad times and just focus on missing him or wanting him or wishing it was different or thinking that it could be different. You know, it was like, and then my guidance would come back in and kind of, have me look at it again. And like, it was through my guidance actually forcing me to look at betrayal and mistreatment and deception that finally like made me understand and accept that that's what the truth was. And I was more willing and wanting and just naturally able to put on my rose-colored glasses and to just forget about it and brush it all under the carpet, which, by the way, is the same way issues were handled in my family home growing up. No one was apologizing. Conflicts, people took a little bit of space and then, after a period of time, just started talking again as if it never happened. And I was like programmed to those coping mechanisms and also the coping mechanism of putting on the rose-colored glasses in the first place. Because the root cause of the betrayals were in childhood, and it's as simple as just being neglected emotionally as a child. And that is a betrayal. And yet this was done by the parents that I needed and depended on, so I also couldn't vilify them. So the people that I love most trained me into putting on rose-colored glasses to ignore where I was being abused or neglected or harmed, lied to, whatever. And so I proceeded through life in that manner, allowing myself to be in relationship with people who did not treat me well and totally dysfunctionally enabling them to continue to do so over and over and over again. And when I finally was like willing to look at it as betrayal and deal with that kind of stuff, it was hard to like make that stick. There was this, it was just like relentlessly, my rose colored glasses would just go back on, where I would just have amnesia about the bad parts or whatever. Like it would just I would dissociate from it. It just was hard to like hold on to the hurt long enough to even heal it, because like I was so good at those coping mechanisms, I guess. And so I felt like it was like spirit pulling teeth to try to get me to realize and to be on that, in that space of you've been wronged, and like, yeah, get angry about it. Yeah, it's okay to be mad. It's okay to be hurt. It's okay to not like that person. You know? And those were things that I wasn't able to do naturally, or, you know, not purely naturally, but like naturally to me, right? Like from the way I was programmed. And so there and the thing is, another reason why it was so difficult for me to be brought to that place was because I had had the spiritual awakening. My Kundalini had already rose. I already had access to what Christ consciousness is. My heart had already been opened. And I remembered all of that. I knew better than to hold judgment against others who wronged me. I understood and felt like, well, people who wrong me are already hurt. Like, and what does it matter? Because I'm not going to hold a grudge. So what does it matter for me to feel hurt or mad or anything like that? You know, it was like I was bypassing and escaping to my spiritual view, and then just looking at the situation from there. So it wasn't just the coping mechanism in my subconscious. It was also the consciousness was thinking everything's on track, because spiritually speaking, I don't want to be in a grudge against people who have wronged me. So I was puzzled on why spirit was pulling me down into the place of being betrayed, you know, because it was like, what do you mean, spirit? I'm already in the place of acceptance and peace. Why are we going down there? And so what I realized from the reading that I watched was that, like, when I got there, when I got to the place of, okay, I've been wronged and stuff, I still feel like I've never even felt mad about it. I still feel like it's barely affected me, like, as a thing in retrospect, you know? Like, yeah, I was upset at the times it was happening when I felt confused and, like, gaslighted all the time. But in retrospect, I've never been able to conjure up any major emotion about it. It was just like spirit had brought my mind into the knowing of it and finally convinced me that I had been wronged and betrayed. Okay, so that's where I had been sitting on the topic for a while. I'm talking, you know, a year or something, like, you know, been like, okay, yeah, I was wronged. Like, I have to accept that I was wronged. And I could never conjure up any emotion about it. Like, I just couldn't. And I thought, okay, well, that's okay. I just needed to understand that that was the fact. And I thought, okay, all right, cool. And what the reading kind of clicked in for me, what was, it just dawned on me like, oh, so I have this energy of relationship. And on the one hand, you have loyal, loving relationship and non-attachment and no expectations. Okay, so scratch that. On the one hand, you have like this aspect of a relationship from a spiritual view, which is no expectations, not attached to outcome, having agreements about how we treat each other. And then on the other hand, we have these relationships where you might be completely unconscious, and it might even be in a relationship with somebody who betrays you. And I don't feel like I'm explaining this very well, and I think it's because I'm in the wound. Like it's active, and that's I think why I've been tripping over my words and trying to avoid it and like squirming around the topic. Isn't this interesting? You know, I'm so like on a conscious level willing to go into the wound. I'm not afraid of the feeling, but like I can feel my everything just squirming around this. And I can't even articulate it. Isn't that interesting? And it's true that like your awareness expands after you've healed it. That's when you get to see the big picture view. So I'm trying to explain it from within it still. But the reason I'm doing it is because I'm trying to bring myself to the point where I can elicit the emotion and I can process it through, right? So basically what I feel like has happened is because this wound is actually rooted in betrayal from childhood, you know, that my coping mechanisms were so good that spirit used that relationship to point out to me that, hey, you're being wronged and it's something you should look at. And I was just like finally like, oh yeah, I was wronged. And sorry, I can't feel a thing about it. Means fuck all to me at this point because I survived. Here I am, and I know spiritually I don't need to hold them accountable or take revenge or be mad at them. So like, what? Okay, now I know. You want me to know so that I don't go back or think that I'm missing out on something? Okay, got it. You know, but it was more than that. What spirit is trying to point out to me is that it's both things. So it doesn't make sense for me to just so I have to heal the root cause so that I can let it be both things. So that it can be someone who betrayed me and also I don't hold the grudge against them. You know, it's not one or the other. It's not me thinking, oh, I don't want to hold the grudge against them, but spirit told me to be conscious of it. So I'm going to be conscious of it. No, it's actually difficult to do that. Like I said, I would keep forgetting about it, keep forgetting that they did anything wrong to me. And it's so funny. It's like apathy. That's what it is. It's apathy. Whereas someone else might get really protective and arrogant and like angry and have like a wall up. I went like, I'm nothing and it doesn't matter. But that's a coping mechanism, right? That's a wound. That's a feeling that I had due to the story I told myself. And that's because my original betrayal was through neglect. So it makes sense that I would neglect myself in the process of that wound. And so what I have to do is now heal this wound of neglect. And it's like, how am I going to feel this, right? So I acknowledge that I have a wound that's been replaying for these 49 years of my life, where I've continued to allow people to betray me, and I have continued to pretend it never happened. And that was because it was very easy to pretend it never happened because it didn't hurt. Because I have numbed myself to the pain of betrayal and rejection. Oh. Yeah, I have, haven't I? Okay. Valid. It's valid. I understand why I did this because I had to survive a very difficult situation in my upbringing where I wasn't getting needs met and I was supposed to get those needs met by my parents. And I was lied to and I was told things by lots of adults that never followed through. Oh, yeah. I just flashed it to an uncle promising me that he would get me a white Alaskan husky. Lies. He was probably just drunk. I don't know why you would say that to a kid. Well, I said that that's what I wanted, and he said he would get it for me someday. So anyway, I don't want one now. So that's good. um, so it's valid that I coped in such a way to ignore betrayal and not let it affect me, because I had to do that. As a young child in that household, I had to do that. I had to devalue myself. Oh. I had to devalue myself in order for life to make sense, because it was the only thing that made everything make sense. If I wasn't valuable to them, then it made sense that they weren't paying attention to me. And also, if they weren't paying attention to me, then I didn't need to pay attention to me also. So if I felt anything, it didn't matter anyway. So why feel it? Okay. I accept that this is where I'm at. Might need to validate a little bit more to see if I can get this a little more active. So, parents were fighting all the time. They didn't feel like they had enough for us, and so there was just no safety, and I was supposed to be able to feel safe in the world with my parents. And oh, I've said this before, and I never caught on that I might feel a thing about it, but I could never feel anything about this before. But my dad did tell us that my grandparents and my aunt had died. They really hadn't. And so he lied to us. I was 5 when he told me that. And my mother took us there later. That's where we moved to. I think there's a betrayal in the incident where my father has me and my siblings in the front seat. The car doors open. He's driving away. My mother's on the street yelling. I start screaming, and my father stops the car and says, "If you get out, you won't ever see me again." That's a betrayal. That's just mean. Felt numb again when I went there. That was a really traumatic time, so I'm not sure if stuff is still locked away around that. But except that this is where I'm at, that I have had this with me the whole time. This is this is the root cause of why I have accepted less than I deserve in relationships and of all kinds. in every relationship in my life, basically. Almost. Present with what does it feel like? It feels like sad, scared, confused, so confused. So it's like a big feeling, and I don't know if I even have a name for it. Just gonna be present with it, whatever it is, this energy, I feel it. I wasn't allowed to be upset. I wasn't allowed to be upset. And my father didn't like it when we cried, I think. Shut up or I'll give you something to cry about. My tears are like burning my skin. Isn't that interesting? I wonder if it's because it has the energy that's so yucky and burny. Or it's just because it's winter. Okay. Present with any feelings that arise about having spent my life subjecting myself to betrayal and treatment that was not fair, that was not right, and just continuing to let myself be around people who didn't treat me right, didn't think of me in the right way, could not see my worth because I could not see my worth. Feels a little humiliating in that aspect. Because, like, certainly other people could see that I was allowing myself to be mistreated. So I lowered my value in their eyes just by allowing myself to be mistreated. Yeah. I'm sad that I didn't protect myself or hold myself in higher regard. There's a little bit of shame where shame was used to try and tell me to like be quiet and just shut up and like just not complain and just like get out of the way. And you know what another betrayal was? That I was sent away to play. Go play. Go play. Go play. Like, just didn't even want me around. think it was their way of protecting me or also having privacy so they could, do drugs or whatever. All right, so you know what I feel called to do? A soul retrieval type thing. So I didn't get into a meditation really before this. I'm going to connect to heaven above and the earth and expand myself out past the constraints of time and space. And now I am going back into the scene at my childhood home where my parents were and where I was entering into the living room. Just curious, just wanting to be around my mother and father. And I'm being told, go play. As if I'm just annoying, that my mere presence is annoying. And I'm not welcome. It's a betrayal because these are my people that I depend on. These are the only people in my life. And I can't do anything about it. So, what did I need in that moment? I needed a friend. I needed companionship. I needed to not. I needed to matter to somebody. So, I think what would set me up for the best success is to matter to myself. I needed to not abandon myself, and I needed to matter to myself. And I needed to say, okay, if those people have whatever going on, I need to tend to me, and I need to make my life happy. And I need to find something that makes me feel comfortable and safe in this world. I see myself going into the other room and allowing myself to feel sad. I'm sitting. I'm going to enter the scene as this version of myself, and I'm going to talk to my inner child. And I'm going to obviously use my imagination to do that. So I may be quiet for a few minutes, but I'll try to update. And so I go to my inner child, my younger version of self that's in this scene, and I say, hi. And she can barely squeak out a hi, and she's looking down. And I just sit next to her, say it's okay if you feel sad that you can't be around your parents right now. I know it's probably really confusing when they keep telling you to go away, and you know it's because they're doing something that they don't want you to know about. They're caught up in their own inner boo-boos, and they don't even know they have boo-boos. And that's really hard because you depend on them. You can depend on them for your physical needs. Feelings you have, it's going to be up to you to make sure you pay attention to your feelings and know that they don't mean anything about you, that you are great. You are wonderful, kind, loving, caring, creative, intelligent, wise, fit, healthy, wealthy, beautiful lady. If you just allow your feelings to pass through, feel like it's time, you can go find something to play with or do some art, a book. You can write me a letter if you want. You can brush your hair or brush your teeth, cut your toenails. You can practice smiling in the mirror. You can play fun games with your brother and sister. You can teach them how you guys don't have to fight, that you can all be on the same side. You can always protect yourself and them by just letting everyone know that they are important. They've not done anything wrong, that they deserve to be happy and healthy. You can make sure that you're happy and healthy by always being good to yourself, caring about yourself, caring about your own feelings, and letting the feelings pass along through, knowing that you're really good at that. Is there anything else that you need? How about a big hug? You are loved and you will always be loved because you love you. You love yourself. Your only job in this world is to have the experiences and the life you're going to have through your eyes and through your heart. Don't ever lose that. Sometimes people won't agree with you. Sometimes people might even point and laugh at you, and it doesn't mean anything about you. What other people do only means something about them. And that's up to them to decide what it is. You get to decide who you are and what you're worth and how your thoughts and feelings matter to you. It's nice to allow other people to have their thoughts and feelings too. And when you have somebody who wants to share their thoughts and feelings with you, it's really nice. Sometimes you can build a relationship with those people and you can share your thoughts and feelings too. And it's important to just let people be who they are, and they'll show you who they are. And if you have a question about how their behavior might affect you, you can ask them. You can make agreements about how you both agree to treat each other if you want to, if you want to keep having interactions with someone. Otherwise, some people will just come into your life for a little while and then leave. And it's okay. You can enjoy the experiences that you have with them, or you can learn the lessons that you have to learn with them. If you ever need me, you can just talk to me in your heart. Always there in your heart. I will be sending you love every day for the rest of my life. I'm going to live a long time. Best friends. It was so hard to leave that version of me, and not because I was worried or anything, just because we brought us to this peace. And I just wanted to stay there in that peace. And also, I just wanted to be with her. Like, so I know she's with me, you know? Well, that's what I want to do. Let me go back to the scene. So, would you like to come with me? Stay with me always? Okay. And before we leave the house, let's ask if there are any other versions of us that would like to come. Yeah, there are. Wow. So when I brought all the other versions, I felt like a lot of trauma came with them. But it's okay because I've alchemized so much that it's not going to weigh me down, and I'll process anything that comes up into my awareness through that. But it may already all be processed through, so it may just be integrated already. And it may have just been something where my mind needed to realize it, you know? We'll see. We'll see about that. Okay. So, I mean, even though before I did this, I felt like on a conscious level that I could handle myself, that I wouldn't let myself get betrayed, that I was pretty good at discerning it. I can feel now that it would have been more like an adaptation and an override. Whereas now this is like this is a fully integrated thing because I've gone back to the root cause. And so now I won't be using extra energy to go like against that, you know, to override that tendency to want to react like that version of me did. And you heard me give that version of me coaching, really, and reassurance and love. And, in soul retrieval, it's kind of like give yourself what you needed, but you don't have to be the one to give it. You can picture someone else giving it, but I just chose to give it myself. Just felt right for me in that moment, because part of the issue that stemmed from those neglect, betrayals, and things like that were a lack of self-care. And so this was like an act of self-care, a great act of self-care. And, I hadn't been able to elicit emotion from those issues, as I said. So it was really comforting to me that I did, because that tells me that I moved energy. And I'm really glad for that. And I feel like this is a weird one to share, but I'm still going to share it. Just because, sometimes healing is like that. Sometimes your ego is, trying to protect you and distract you like a lot from doing the thing. And sometimes it's hard to feel the emotion that you think should be attached to it, or that is attached to it. It's because it's so buried. And sometimes, you figure things out later, and sometimes it's hard and awkward, and sometimes you're going to act in the wound a bit before you heal it. And, it's just like, do what you got to do. It's not so neat as the formula that I describe sometimes, right? Sometimes, I added in the so-called soul retrieval into this because it just felt like the right thing to do at the time. It felt like I needed to interact with that version of me and kind of bring her into me, rather than just feel what she might have felt. The imagery helped me integrate in that case, So, maybe there's something to be said for this in the introduction to my feeling series. However, the feeling series is meant to be just a tool, so I'll probably just keep it as is, because, it's like sometimes this tool works for the job you're doing, and sometimes you need this tool and this tool. And so what I've done is demonstrated, the use of more than one tool, if that helps you at all, but also just like my humanity and the fact that I'm still healing. I'm still healing stuff. And also this isn't going to ruin my week, and it wasn't ruining my week up until now. It was just something that was buried in there that was excavated basically for my need to deal with it. And there, sometimes you can let all these questions come in to why did it take so long? Why did I have to wait until now to heal it? How did I not catch on to this? Oh, I'm so stupid, or anything like that starts coming in. And it's like, no, there's no room for that. This was the time to do this. And what's comforting to me today, you know how there are those days where you just have synchronicities everywhere? Well, today for me was one of those days. I had 3 crows on my lawn, just for me. They flew right in while I was watching out there. And then I was in the car getting ready to go into a store, and I look, and it's 11:11 on the clock. And I'm like, oh, cool. I hadn't seen 11:11 in a while. And then by the end of coming out of the stores for the day, I look at the clock and it's 1:11. So yes, there's a lot of shopping today. But also what are the chances, And those are synchronicities that help you know you're on track. And the crows are symbolism, it's a message, and crows always signify a change. They guard the doorway to the other realm, right? So when I do this today, there are those synchronicities that happened in my day leading up to this that help me and comfort me knowing that this was the time that this was supposed to happen. I don't have to worry myself with thinking I was dumb to not realize it before now, or that, I wasted all this time not doing it, or I didn't have to suffer in those crappy relationships, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that. I had soul contracts. Even that relationship was a soul contract. I mean, I have petitioned. I have petitioned to never incarnate with that person again. Well, I just thought it was particularly distasteful the way that I was treated, and mostly in the gaslighting, and mostly in like he knew that I could sense the things that were off, and I was calling him out on it, and then he would just blatantly lie to me, and then that would be comforting to me. I would just be comforted by the lie, because if he just told me it was okay, then I just believed him. But it was because of my wound. And he knew that a minute before that I was totally on to him, And I just think it's very distasteful. It's I think that's pretty, yeah, I just don't like that. I accept that exists. I understand that, there's a certain kind of wounding that creates a person who will treat another person that way. But it's, it's really distasteful, and it affected not just me, but, my loved ones. And I don't know, I didn't want to incarnate with him anywhere, because this is my last time on Earth. Well, it was when I signed up anyway, this round. But I know that I don't need to hold a grudge against him either, I understand that that's, but to me, it's yeah, I don't feel I need those lessons. I don't want to interact with that going forward. So I accept that, and I'm willing to if it's what's required of me, but I prefer not to, and I've petitioned to not, do it again. Because there's a time for coming clean, There's a time for saying, you know what, you're right. I've lied to you. Even if the relationship's already over and stuff, it's just why wouldn't you just clear your karma at least? Just be a decent human being, because you are a human being, right? It's kind of like that. It's hard for me to understand that, people who treat others like that are out there when I think about the fact that I have granddaughters, It's really distasteful. So look how much the anger is willing to come out now that I have gone through this. I could never access this before. Interesting. Okay, so let's process this anger. This anger is wanting to come out now. Yeah, fuck that guy. What a jerk. Okay, enough with the name calling. Let's acknowledge that I have anger because of the way that I've been treated. Yep, I do. It's valid because I was treated like shit. I was treated like I was a plaything, like I was a tool. I was treated like there was just no reason to treat me fairly, like I was stupid. I was humiliated because I was mistreated, and other people knew it for sure. It's valid for me to be angry because I trusted him. I was vulnerable. I was so vulnerable, the most vulnerable that I could be. And I let him in, I saw his flaws, and I showed him mine, and he exploited mine. Well, I loved him through his. And yes, even through his betrayal of me, even through his gaslighting of me, I did love him through it. And yeah, I'm angry. Okay. I accept that this is where I'm at after all these years. Finally, the anger wants to come out. Oh, I'd much rather move it through laughter, though. That's nice. You know, not only tears can move energy, so can't laughter, so it's welcomed. Let's feel anything there is to feel. How's this anger feel? Let's be present with it. And feel my heartbeat like in my chest and all that, you know? That's good. Yeah, it just feels like my heart's beating faster, like I could feel the hot energy. It's kind of just flowing though, so it happened pretty quick, but I could definitely feel it moving through me. I'm having a hard time already, like grasping onto any more anger. I passed through that quickly, so yeah, I just needed to be with that burst of anger, and I can't conjure up any anger, and you know, I don't really have this grudge that I had a moment ago either. Like, I feel like, you know what? He's a soul that just doesn't know his own heart, and that's really sad. And I hope that he will find his heart and find his heart and know his own love. I hope that he will. Or I'll hold space for him to do so when spirit knows it's the right time for him to do so. That's more appropriate. And anything else coming up? Interesting, right? Because all these things that I wasn't able to really get mad about, where people were mistreating me, seems like those have the potential to come up now. So is there anything else here? Come up about mother. Okay, let's do it. Validate. Heart's beating fast. Accept this is where I'm at. Ooh, that one lodges right in my heart. Pain. Just being present with the pain now of what I felt towards mother, or in response to mother on this topic. I didn't go into all the details because I just knew I'd move through it, you know, pretty easily. You guys get the idea of what I'm doing. In every video that I put out, right? It works, man. It works. And if you can get good at it, so it's like second nature to do it, it just makes everything so much easier. And I was thinking about this, that I think I'm going to wrote a formula. Well, I'm not going to mention it. Okay. So yeah, I'm working on another project that I think it's going to be a real good one. So stay tuned to be let in on that when the time comes. I'm going to close this out. I'm really, really glad that I did this. Thanks for being with me while I did it. Really good stuff. So what this allows me to do is now enter the neutral space on the topic, right, of being betrayed and of accepting people for how they are. Both things are true. And now when I decide to accept people for how they are and the lessons they had to learn and how they had to learn them, even if it was harmful to themselves or others, I can do so without much strain, with ease. I choose that view. I'm not going against something lodged in my subconscious to pull myself to that view anymore, which was a bypass. And I didn't even know it was a bypass because I couldn't feel anything around it because I was apathetic on those topics. And I think that's probably, yeah, that's kind of on the same topic of what I'm working on, is just like talking about and teaching how to get out of apathy. I mean, I think there's probably a scale, like, certain people are in it to certain degrees. And I don't know if I'm like a master on it just because I know how to do it. But it'd be cool if I was. Only because I think it would be a useful thing to share with others. Not because I need to master everything. Okay, I'm probably going to sleep really good. Definitely want to stay hydrated. If you followed along and worked on your own wounding during this video, and I hope you did, make sure you stay hydrated and love yourself and know that it could take 3 days for it to fully integrate and move through you, and let yourself be teary if you need to, and then just, observe and notice what's changed. Okay, here we go.